I think the lead in it is millennials. Businesses are following talent, and millennials have been making a decision about the kind of lifestyle that they want. And businesses are increasingly having to chase talent. And so we can see in the number of cars that are being sold, the number of driver's licenses that people are requesting, that young people are moving in a new direction where sustainability, the environment, walkability makes a difference. So a city like mine was at 27 on the walkability list just 9 years ago and is now at number 8. So even in the deep South, we're recognizing that if you want to be competitive, and competitive means attracting the smartest people out, you've got to move, and you've got to move quickly.
Our young people are buying fewer cars, they're driving much less, fewer miles
they want to be on
than
their
any
smartphone.
generation before them since the invention of the car almost.
I can add a little data there.
Please do.
When I was young, I think 1 out of 12 19-year-olds had opted out of getting a driver's license, and now more than 1 out of 4 19-year-olds have opted out of getting a driver's license. And that data is about 4 years old.
Right.
So, Sommer, I
hope we don't have any car executives out there.
I'm going to the Toyota dinner tonight.
I would say it's demographic transformation, shift in demographic preferences plus. I think one of the biggest trends underway today, most disruptive dynamics, is the shift to open innovations and really the rise of a convergence economy. I mean, we used to think of the tech economy as basically, what goes on in Silicon Valley, mostly around communications. And now what we're seeing in cities across the country, tech disrupting everything: healthcare, education, finance, retail, energy, government. And when you have a move to open innovation, and where companies want to work with other companies and talented workers, and when you have this convergence economy, what it does is it puts a premium on proximity and density. Companies want to be near other companies, and what they really want to be near are advanced research institutions, medical campuses, and companies with large R&D budgets. And that's this mashup we're seeing now. So it's like the perfect storm of demographic preferences shifting and the whole spatial geography of innovation shifting from science parks with isolated corporate campuses back down to the downtown and the midtowns.
I think you're also seeing cities really changing with this new demographic influx. And you've got people moving into cities for the first time in a long time. And so we're going to have 1 million more people in New York City in the next 25 years. And so there's a big challenge. How are we going to accommodate 1 million more people in New York City, so that 25 years from now, when we open our doors, we like what we see? And that means some fundamental changes in the way that we look at the assets of our cities. And so I think cities are looking at ways to repurpose their existing assets, like their streets. Streets are the most common infrastructure a city has, and they've been pretty much frozen the way they've been laid out for 50 years. And you wouldn't be in business if you didn't change your basic capital asset for 50 years. And it doesn't need to take a lot of money, and it doesn't need to take decades to get it done. So you can prioritize people. You can prioritize people walking, biking, taking the train, riding a bike share. And that, I think, is the new way that cities are actually bringing innovation, literally transforming, just rethinking their streets and making those changes in real time. And I think that the millennials are sparking the new economy. It's not like something that you can just ignore, like a trend, like skinny jeans or something, I mean, it's here.
Mayor Landrieu, are the streets of New Orleans changing? Are they going to look different in 10 years?
They're changing dramatically. Yeah. If you think back to after the war, when we had the GI Bill, there are a lot of whole bunch of reasons why people decided to move out into the suburbs, and we can go through that whole story, but we don't have to. But the trend was to go out. The trend was to create kind of grids that actually didn't go through the neighborhood but stopped people from going through the neighborhood. The idea was to get behind gated communities. The idea was to be disparate. That has changed dramatically. We could argue a lot about what changed it, but there's no doubt that it's changing. And what's happening is Kasim, Mayor Bloomberg, we're having to adapt to the change if we want to survive. Millennials, of course, are driving some of that change, but it's just not millennials. There's another thing that's happening. You have older couples who have empty nests, and their kids are gone, and they want to move back into the cities too. They want to move back into places that are authentic, that are rich, that are walkable, that have cultural offerings. They want to go to some place that is safe. And of course, you write about this a lot, and I think it's true. Cities are becoming the nation's laboratories for innovation and change. We're flexible, we're entrepreneurial, we can move on a dime. Now, it's not easy. She led the way at the request of Mayor Bloomberg of really kind of talking about, look, you can put bikes next to cars in difficult areas. In my city, when they say, look, we can't make a bike lane on a commercial corridor, I said, well, look, go to where the World Trade Center used to sit in New York, where the Goldman Sachs building is, where people in New York are just rushing past each other. There are bike lanes there now. And if they can do it there, you can do it anywhere. What people are asking us to do now is to reconnect the city so they can get from one part to the next. And of course, downtown is becoming a place where we're putting more residential buildings than we had before. And of course, that is following a lot of the economic development we see in our city. But what we're doing in New Orleans is really happening all over America in almost every city. And the trends are really clear. And we either have to respond because we kind of compete against each other in a friendly way, or we're going to get left behind.